So if, and we end up with number 16, once the insured has submitted proof of loss, how long must they wait for payment before they're legally permitted to sue the insurer to recoup their qualified expenses? All right, 60 days, right? They didn't pay, boom, 45 days, man, on that 46th day right there, yo, prepaid legal, what? Let me tell you, I got deep pockets. I'm going after deep pockets, right? Like how I slipped that prepaid legal. Yo, David, put the link up. Don't play. The best identity theft on the market, hands down. The state of somebody in charge of like cyber terrorism or something was on the news one time, and they asked him about identity theft protection. They said something about LifeLock. He said, "What? Yeah, that's like trying to put out a forest fire with an eyedropper." Oh, so the senior counter-terrorism guy had the Legal Shield identity theft protection. We have Legal Shield. We endorse it here. I don't, number one. Anyway, so why do we call them Legal Shield? Because they didn't pay us in 45 days. And now we can go ahead and hit them with that paperwork in 60 days. Pow! Now, don't forget, this is important, because if you went ahead and you sued an insurer, don't forget, the chief financial officer receives all legal process, okay? That means that anyone who wants to go ahead and sue an insurer in the state of Florida, you've automatically got the CFO on your side. If they did something wrong, you got everything on your side. It's not our job to go ahead and fight the big corp. It's the big corporation's job to go ahead and give us what we want. So what's my time, D? And when we be back with the next section. All right, so now we got that whole claim thing out of the way, right? You falling, you can't get up, you get helped, now you want your money. You got 20 days to request, right, a claim form. They have 15 days to go ahead and provide you with a claim form. Once you receive that claim form, you got 90 days to go ahead and submit all of your proof of loss. Once you've submitted proof of loss, you're supposed to get paid immediately, right? And by state law, they got to pay you in 45 days. What? If you submit that proof of loss and 60 days goes by, make sure that they're getting a letter from your attorney, okay? Because you're allowed to sue them. Now, 60 days after submitting proof of loss is the first opportunity you can sue them, right? So if you look at number 17 right there, the last opportunity for you to sue an insurer, 5 years, all right? So think about this. Record keeping. Us agents were only required to keep premium payment information for 3 years. We're only required to keep paperwork for 5 years. That same 3-year, 5-year is reflected with the insurers, right? The insured gets audited by the Office of Insurance Regulations if they're new to the state of Florida once a year for the first 3 years. After that, they only get audited once every 5 years. So that 5-year from a theme goes through. We're only required to keep paperwork for 5 years. How could the client, the insured, be allowed to go ahead and sue us after we're not legally required to keep the paperwork anymore? All right? So just keep those together. So you talk about lawsuits on stuff, just think about the paperwork. Run your mind right back to that record keeping, okay? So I just want to point out that if you do the math on those time frames, the 20 days plus 15 days plus 90 days plus the 60 days, it comes out to just a day over 6 months. 6 months is that cutoff line, right? Everything is 6 months. Your elimination period in Social Security is 5 months. Why? Because your maximum elimination period, is 6 months. So of course, Social Security is like, oh, all right, we'll take the second to worst option, right? So remember, a lot of times, and if you see a question about short-term disability, sometimes they'll frame it from 6 months to 24 months, right? The reason they're starting at that 6 months because they're assuming you could have picked that 6-month elimination period, All right, that's the reason why you'll see that time frame. So let's check this. That was number what? That was 17. Number 18. Which of the following best identifies the insurer's rights when a person has misstated their age, gender, or occupation to the insurer? Well, first of all, someone misstated something, and I didn't hear anything about a material fact, a warranty, or nothing like that. So that means it must be a representation, because almost everything in the application is a representation if the client, if the applicant is making it. So their age, hey man, to the best of my ability, I'm 49. You know, I just show up a little bit shaved, and I'd be like a little cocky, right? I walk up, be like 39. All day long. Anyway, ... maybe I don't know. I don't know what my birth certificate was, right? What if, what if we had an identity crisis and I walked up and told them I had an innie instead of an outie, right? That's misstatement of sex, right? Or let's just say I tell them I'm over here teaching insurance classes at my house, and don't tell them I got pterodactyls overhead nesting. They keep on buzzing by with little worms. They could kill me, right? There's alligators. Don't play. We keep on looking. We had some otters on the dock a little bit earlier. We got a panther over here. This is these are the dangerous streets of Windermere, fam. Dangerous. So anyway, blah blah. So we were talking about misstating something, right? So just remember, everything in the application is just a representation. So we know that if it's to the best of my ability, can they terminate the policy if I make a mistake on something that I gave you an answer to the best of my ability? No, that's a representation. You got to look for that was guaranteed to be true, warranty information. So the only thing in this instance that the insurer can do is adjust the benefit accordingly. So if we were talking about disability income and I told them that I'm an instructor, but instead I'm an alligator wrangler, right? Well, they would just go ahead. They would just go ahead and where'd he go? Yeah, I'm telling you, it wouldn't be the first time we get hit. We're gonna crack up. I should be out here crikeys. Watch, I'm gonna open up the next segment with little crikeys, So what will happen is, let's just say in any of these situations, if it wasn't exactly what it was, they would go ahead and look at what my risk classification was if I gave them the correct age or the correct sex or the correct occupation and adjust the benefit down. Let's just say that they caught it before I made a claim. In that instance, they could either adjust the benefit down moving forward or make the premium go up to match the benefit, right? But in no way can they just terminate the policy. It had to be a material misstatement. And if they do terminate the policy for a material misstatement, they got to give you all your premium back, all of it. So look, if you're looking for the definitions in the book under misstatement of age or gender, that's on page 500. And all they're telling you there in the book is allows the insurer to adjust the benefit payable if the age, sex of the insured was misstated. And if you go to 355, you got change of occupation there. And in that provision, what does the book say? It says an individual occupation has a direct bearing on his risk profile. Provision allows the insured to reduce the maximum benefit payable if the insured switches to a more hazardous occupation, right? So that's on page 355. The other one's on 500. Number 19, which of the following statements about group health insurance policies is not true? Is not true. All right, so these are hard because it's not that they're hard, but we're used to extracting one answer, and we're still extracting one answer, but 3 of our options are true. Okay, so one of the first things that you have to think about is the wrong answer is going to change its language on you. We want to go into the question and think about, perhaps which one of these options doesn't flow. That's always a step one. It's always nicer if you actually know the information, right? But if you don't, if you want to at least start making sure you're looking for something to validate your decision, look for words we don't like, all right? So let's see here. Not true. Group policies may cover the employee's dependents and not the employee. Well, that's absolutely true, right? Because if I work and I qualify for my benefits, that meant that my benefits in qualifying are going to cover my dependents as well. So my working means that I'm entitled to all of those benefits. So if I don't want to use your benefits, but I want to cover my family with that, that's 100% true. Let's see. B, covered dependents have the right to continue coverage without providing evidence of insurability. Well, think about that, all right? The only time that we just mentioned you have to provide evidence of insurability would be with a reinstatement, right? But in a reinstatement, you breached the contract. You are now trying to get back in, and they don't have to. But in this instance right here, covered dependents, so that's like, let's see, have the right to, maybe it was a spouse, right? Get a divorce. She's got the baller job. You can't be kicking me out in the street like that. Come on, man. You got to allow me to continue coverage even though we're not connected. Yeah, all right. That's how that goes. You see what I mean? Even, that would be the same for, stepchildren or something along those lines. So, of course, continuing coverage means they're staying on the group certificate. And of course, they're not going to have to provide evidence of insurability. They were already covered by the policy. Mini Cobra is only for small. I like the fact that mini, small business, those two words mean something to me right there, right off the bat, mini and small business. So Mini Cobra is only for small businesses. There's an extreme, but that is true, right? With less than 20 employees. Associations was a little bit more than small employers. They had 25, right? Small employers, 20. I like that one. So now what do we have? We just picked up a whole bunch of parameters because I'm telling you this last one can't be right. All right, hold up. I like all as a bad answer. Why? It has an extreme right off the bat. All employees, including temporary workers. What? What did I say about being able to exclude something? If you're going to exclude anything, even from a child on pre-existing conditions, it's going to be anything temporary, and AKA a foster child or a temporary worker. So right now, all employees, including temporary workers, are eligible for group employee benefits if they work at least 25 hours a week. No, wrong. Stop. That's the right answer right there. That is the incorrect answer. Now, when you find one of these, make sure that you kind of make a mental note. If you're in the state exam and they're giving you that dry erase board and you found one that's like all of these things are correct, that is definitely a question that's going to answer other questions somewhere else. Okay? So just remember that. And if it doesn't answer a question directly, it's something with so many facts in one small area that you're able to kind of set your thought process moving into other discussions. So they're not the easiest of questions, but if you can navigate them, they can help you in the long run. All right, now if you're looking for the answer on that one, that was in the book under 503. That was an employer group. What did the book say about it? The employer is the policyholder. All employees declared eligible. If a class of employee determines eligibility, all members of any class must be declared eligible. So that means you can't provide better coverage to the people who work in the office than the people who work on the dock, the loading bay or something like that, all right? And then a little further down in the book, it says policy may insure the spouse or dependent children without the employee being insured. And the definition of a full-time employee is 25 or more hours. So that answer that was wrong had a real information in it, right? Because it mentioned the 25. That was a real number. So that was, kudos if you got that one right. But what did it say? 25 hours does not prohibit insurer from excluding coverage for a temporary employee. Key word there was temporary, guys, all right? That answer there, if you're in the book, is in 503, that paraphrase, you could see it. See how we like hopscotching over keywords and whatnot. Number 20, how many members does an association or a labor union need to have to qualify for a group? Well, I just told you it was 25. 25. Note to self, yes, the association needs 25 people, but only 15 need to participate, okay? As long as the association has 25 and 15 participate, you are good to go. You can find that on page 503, that's 29213, associations, labor unions. Now, I just want to point out, man, if you're using that terrible book that has way too many words in it, that Yeah, I thought you were going to fall asleep and fall into the, it was like, David is over here, got narcolepsy. He's like this. He's like, oh my God. All right, let's see. But if you're in the book, I want to point out that we know small businesses have 20 or less employees, right? And now we're talking about the associations having 25. Make sure that if you're not using our outline to study that, you pay attention to the fact that in that section, you could completely cross out the word small employer, because they actually never addressed the small employer in that section. And that's over there on, what is that, 29-213 on page 503, associations, labor unions, and small employers. Everything in that section has to do with the labor unions and the associations. Nothing to do with the small employers. I suggest that you go there, cross small employer out. Your answer to your small employers came a couple of pages later in your definitions, where they talk about the small employer being 20 or less. So just make a note of that, because that could throw you off. Okay, that 20s, that's the difference. There's a small employer is 20, your associations and your labor unions are 25, but only 15 have to participate.